Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langhate girim yat kripatamam vande paramanand madhavam. Swami, please think through me, feel through me, speak through me, see through me, act through me. Sairam. Sairam, brothers and sisters, once again, it's lovely to be together and sharing this journey with Sai, in Sai, and trying to redeem ourselves, trying to share our energies so that we come up and align ourselves again, which might have got distorted in the preceding days. Before I start, just confirming whether Brother Shastri, you may try to connect Brother Anand and Brother Shri Kumar. I don't know whether Shri Kumar is there. Yeah, he's there. He's there. Brother Shri is there.
Yeah.
Okay, because they were trying to connect. Yeah.
Sure.
Sure. Okay, so let's move on. Weekly Sai vaccine, as we have called it in the COVID parlance, and it still continues. It's bi-weekly vaccine which we are taking, but I think almost daily, and whenever we are conscious about it, it's taking moment to moment because it's all about Satat Nama Smarana. It has to be continuous. It has to be without any breaks or any links. Now, as you can see, while we are trying to reach out to Bhagwan, he's already there standing by. Now, he's not there somewhere. He's standing by within us as this very source which makes us reason to exist. Now, we have to consciously choose whether he remains a witness or a participant in our daily sojourns. And it's important that satsang becomes a very, very important bridge, for all of us, where the bhakta gets connected to the Bhagwan, yeah, the soul gets connected to the super soul, the nara gets connected to the Narayana. It's an important bridge also because sometimes we are too engrossed in our daily lives where we don't find time or we don't find the right environment or the satsang or the company to connect us. So it's nothing but tuning us. These sessions allow us to tune into the divine, to reconnect and realign the roots. You know, possibly we have meandered into a different domain. As a GPS or the God positioning system, satsang brings us back into the main routing. Now we have been in the preceding weeks we had done the karma, destiny, my will, his will part of the session, and then there was some unfinished part which was not only living is important but leaving is also very, very important. And we started with that in the last session with some part of it remaining in the art of living, or how we can consciously think and prepare ourselves in that journey. Right, and then close our bank balance, as we were talking about, you know, the speech which Swami gave in 1968 on bank balance, spiritual bank balance. It's not only important to maintain the accounts, to start the account, to do FDs, to do the deposits, right deposits. It's also important to be conscious how the account is closed, right? And that is only meaningful if we are able to close it once and for all, right? So whether it is possible in the births that we had, preceding births, I'm sure we all have traversed several births we haven't done, and that's what Swami told to Kasturi ji. You know, what happens after death, he asked, and Swami said that this is what happens. That means you come back again. Why? Because you did not give the exams well. So we have come back for the supplementary exams, and we come back for the supplementary exams. So that is where, because we have not able to account close properly. So we had discussed some part of it, and just to have the initial part of it as a reminder in Bhagavad Gita, where, you know, in chapter 8 and verse 6, where the Lord very beautifully explains that whoever at the end leaves the body thinking of anything at that time, any being at that time, whatever attachments you have, whatever connections we have, that free will, that part of the choice is there. And when you are leaving, what you think about whom you associate gets attached to your subsequent births which are going to follow. It's an important connect we have to understand. So nothing is accidental. Now, when you look at this statement and look at the past lives or the lives that you are living now, we have thought somewhere or the other in the end of our sojourn then to be connected to different individuals as of now. All right. So this is an important part what Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says. And not only that, having said that, he also assures that in the hour of death, he who dies or he who leaves remembering me and relinquish the body reaches me. So when he says that whatever you think, he's also saying that if you think of me and me alone, you reach me, right? And by saying that, what he's assuring, what Swami has assured is, we come out of this cycle of birth and death, which is a, concentric circles going on and on and on until we draw a tangent, right? And we come out of that. And that tangent is this particular assurance of this Bhagavad Gita sloka 10 from the chapter 8. But is it that easy? Is this game so easy that, we think about it when the time comes? We all say, okay, we'll do it later at the certain age. Why? Because we are in the brahmacharya, and then we are in the grihastha, and then we are into the vanprastha, and then we are into the sannyasta ashram, the 4 ashramas defined. The grihastha ashram is something which is related to the family life, and it keeps us so engrossed that we forget about the brahmacharya, we forget about the attributes of sannyasta, and we vanprastha and sannyasta, right? So it's not that easy that we will be able to remember, and that is a big question mark. And that's the whole thing what we are trying to drive in this session, and possibly to learn today with this particular topic, is to understand how we can close the account well. Let's listen to Swami when he talks about what is this particular phenomenon called death.
ఈ దేహం కూలిపోయినటువంటిది, ఈ దేహం అనిత్యమైనటువంటిది, అశాశ్వతమైనటువంటిది.
Body is after all fleeting, is bound to change, and it will fall.
దీనినే ఈ ప్రపంచము డెత్ అన్నారు.
In the worldly parlance we call it death.
ఈ దేహం అనేటువంటిది మార్చబడేటువంటిది.
Body changes.
నిరంతరం కూడాను ఈ దేహం మారునటువంటిది.
It goes on changing continuously.
ఇలాంటి మారిపోయేటువంటి యొక్క దేహమును సత్యమని ఎట్లా భావిస్తావు?
How do you consider this body true when it changes so?
భగవంతుడు సత్యస్వరూపుడు.
God is the embodiment of truth.
సత్యమనగా త్రికాలములు యందు కూడాను మార్పు చెందనటువంటిది.
Truth is changeless in all the 3 periods of
అట్టి
time.
సత్యస్వరూపుడైనటువంటి మానవుని యొక్క ప్రేమతత్వాన్ని సత్యమైనటువంటి మార్గం నందు మనం ప్రచారం చేయాలి, కానీ అసత్యము అనిత్యము అయినటువంటి మార్గంలో ప్రవేశపెట్టరాదు.
The form of truth can be propagated and shared, following the path of truth alone, but not along the path of falsehood or lies.
అప్పుడే భగవంతుడు నిన్ను ప్రేమించగలడు.
Then God will love you.
భగవంతుని చేత ప్రేమింపబడేటువంటి వాడు కనుకనే ఈ జీసస్ నిరంతరం కూడాను పవిత్రమైనటువంటి దైవ సందేశాన్ని ఈ జగత్తునకు చాటుతూ వచ్చాడు.
As he was loved by God, he could share with everybody, the disciples in the society, by and large, the principle of love.
Death is the dress of life అన్నాడు.
Death is the dress of life.
ఈ జీవితానికి డెత్ అనేటువంటిది ఒక డ్రెస్ వంటిది.
For the life, death is the dress.
ఈ దేహం అనేటువంటిది కేవలము ఒక నీటి బుడగ వంటిది.
Body is a water bubble.
ఈ దేహం అనేటువంటిది జీవికి ఒక విధమైనటువంటి తొడుపు వంటిది.
The body is merely a vesture.
కనుక ఈ దేహాభిమానమును విసర్జించి ఆత్మాభిమానం అభిరించి దీనిని ఆశించమని ప్రబోధిస్తూ వచ్చాడు.
He went on teaching that one has to give up this body attachment. On the other hand, one has to be attached to the spirit.
దీనినే భారతీయ సంస్కృతి యందు దేహో దేవాలయ ప్రోక్తో జీవో దేవ సనాతన అని, సనాతనుడైనటువంటి భగవంతుడు నూతనమైన దేహమును ధరించి జగత్తునకు దైవ సందేశాన్ని అనిపించే నిమిత్తమై దేహాన్ని పోషిస్తూ ఉంటాడు.
The ancient, eternal, immortal divine dwells in this changing new body and goes on propagating, teaching the divine message to everybody.
So there it is by Swami that this is an inevitable part of the dress change, the costume change. We talk about thought for the day, as we had regularly be flashing that, it's a role that is assigned, perhaps a costume, and the role is not changed. You enter the green room. So this is important for us to understand this undergoes a change, and just like the dress is changed, till we realize consciously to come out of this. Okay. And in Satsai speaks, Bhagavan very beautifully says, when Brahma asks, say Narada, what is the most amazing thing? Because Narada is supposed to be traveling and moving around and, getting those vibes, what's happening. What is the amazing thing that is noticed on the earth? And Narada says, the most amazing thing I saw was the dying are weeping for the dead. What a beautiful way Swami has explained. The dying are weeping for the dead. That means we are all born to die, right? We are all going towards, marching towards this grave moment by moment, right? Reaching towards it. Those who are themselves nearing death every moment are weeping over those who have died, as if their weeping has an effect either to revive the dead or prevent their own death. These are very hard facts. Of course, when we go through, when I lost my mother, when Swami left his body, we were in a very shattered frame of mind. It did take some time to come to the equilibrium. But eventually, these moments of life define us a very hard truth. It may be in a harsh way, but it tells that, yes, the one who is born is bound to die. We all come with a return ticket. And then Swami goes to say, you have been born so that so that at death you may kill the I when you die. If Brahma is delusion, dies, you become Brahman. So whole Maya, whole delusion, all this which is created, it gets off at the point of the death. Of course, carrying all the chitta, memory reservoir of the unfulfilled desires and vasanas and so on and so forth, which again decides your next birth, as we saw in the Bhagavad Gita slokas, number 6 of number 8 of chapter 6. Now, then he goes to say, you must live in the constant thought of God as well as the fact death. The body is the car in which you are riding to death. You may meet death any moment while riding. Some may be tree or lorry or anything. So what Bhagwan is telling us, that this is inevitable to happen. We must remember to keep thinking about him. You are born not to be born again. That's another one. And die so that you may not be born again. The Lord is a witness to all these happenings. In some instances, now mind it, in some instances he gives a prior warning. He gives a prior warning. Now there was one katha in which it was said that there was a devotee who died, and when he went up, he protested. He said, why did you bring me up here? You know, you did not give me any warnings. And Lord Yama said, okay, okay, we'll give you the return back, to the planet, and this time you'll get warnings before you die. And then he was again engrossed, and within few days, I think a couple of years, again he was dead, and he brought in again protested. He said, but you told me you're going to give me warning. And Yama said, yes, we did. Then how did you? Nobody came to tell me that you are dying. So he was expecting a very personal call, a phone call maybe, So then he said, didn't we give you that when your hairs turned gray? That was one of the indications. You didn't listen to us. You started dyeing it. When your tooth started dropping, you started putting dentures, right? When your skin started folding, you started doing those plastic surgeries. So we did give the indication, and what you didn't do was you didn't understand or catch it because you're totally lost in this delusion called world, right? And the very beautiful statement catch from this is dying is weeping over the dead. So Bhishma had waited. Now again, Bhagavan says, while it is inevitable, now let's see how we can consciously come to that. Bhishma had waited for 58 days in order that the sun might start in the northward journey, right? So he was already in the bed of arrows, and he had that vardhan, the boon, that Swecha Mrityu. That means whenever he wills, he will leave. No arrow, anything can kill him. They can injure him, but he will leave at his own time, right? He was thinking of the Lord all those days and was waiting for an appropriate time to die. In this aspect, Bhishma taught to the world that the time of death was more important than the time of birth. Correct? Why? Because it is deciding our next journey again. So whether we come back or we don't come back, or in how form we come back. Then Bhagwan says, more than being born on an auspicious day, it's to be coveted that one dies on an auspicious day and time. If one dies like that, rebirth will be a good one. Today, we all want a good birth, but we are not seeking a good death. The inner meaning of a good birth is to enable one to have a good death. Again, he's connecting both the important dots of life when you're born and when we leave, right? The inner meaning of good birth is to enable to have a good death. We must recognize the truth that all the sadhana we do is for the sake of pleasurable life, but for a good and peaceful death. All the great saints and yogis, Bhagavan says, direct all the prayers towards aspiring for an easy good death. Then pray that they be enabled to merge with the Lord easily. Our attempts should be directed to that objective. How beautifully he has explained how we must get into this particular mental frame, right? And then Swami Yogananda also says beautifully that when you came into this world, you cried your heart out and everybody around you smiled and laughed, right? Because it was a joy for them. You act and behave and do and conduct yourself in such a way that when you leave the world cries and you laugh at that point of time. Such a beautiful part of the statement. How we live a life will decide whether we depart with a smile or with a, with fragile. So let's move on into the next part. Swami Yogananda very beautiful says, he says, if the death is the only thing which decides, the moment of death decides, don't depend on death to liberate you from imperfections. That's another part of the caution. You are exactly the same after death as you were before. Nothing changes. You only give up the body. If you were a thief or a liar or a charter or a death, you don't become angel merely by dying. If such was possible that if we could improve by dying, he says, then let's all go and jump into the world, into the ocean and become angels at once. Whatever you have made yourself thus far, you will be hereafter, and you will incarnate, will bring back the same nature and tendencies, vasanas and vrityas and everything, right? And then he says to change, you have to make the effort. This world is the place to do it. So he's saying that there's nothing on the other side of the world. Whatever you have to do for the improvement, you have to do now before our end comes. It's not that the death is the turning point. It's how we have lived and cultured ourselves. And this is where Bhagwan beautifully says. He says that you must live in a constant thought of God always. If you're not careful with your driving, you may encounter death, any accident. And never forget two facts. Death is sure event and your time is running out with every passing moment. This is so important. Time is running out. Even Steve Jobs said that live every day as if this is the last day of your life. It's such an important part. If we have this, we are too assured and we assume too much of our life ahead that we forget that this is one of the important hidden facts which can surface any moment. And then Bhagwan goes to say, when you remember this, you will never be tempted to waste time in idle talk or vain pursuits. Travel in the car carefully, slowly, with due regard to others. Do not greedily try to overtake others or compete in speed. Know the limitations of the vehicle, that he is talking about body and life. Then you will not meet accident. Your journey will be an happy experience. Go through the life always thinking of God. Now, thinking of God, Bhagwan has very clearly said we have to divinize our activities, our thoughts. Right? If you're taking shower, do Gayatri Mantra. When you're cooking, imagine as if you are cutting down your ego, you're burning your vrityas, you're burning your, all those Arshtavargas or the tendencies. If we try to divinize the activities, not to stop, the akarma is not a reason. Karma when we're talking about, the earlier episodes, kama, when you desire kama, and Rama enters in karma, that becomes karma yoga, right? So whenever we have any desires or anything to do, let us introduce Bhagavan. Let us introduce Lord so that the same thing becomes a karma yoga. And this is what this statement says. Go through the lives always thinking, do one's duty always thinking of God, then the work becomes worship. Now remember, it's saying work becomes worship. When Professor Bhagya, where he was narrating his experience, he was saying that after his retirement, he wanted to resign everything and he start meditating and work on his personal spiritual progress. And he didn't want to continue in the Swami's university. And then Swami gave an interview, and then said that I heard that you have resigned and that you are not going to continue teaching. And then he says, yes, Swami, I want to focus and do this, on my spiritual growth and all. And then Bhagwan says that if you separate the secular life and the spiritual life, that is your worldly life and the spiritual life, not even 1,000 births I will give you liberation. And just remember, I think he's speaking to all of us through Professor Bhagya. And then Professor Bhagya was very good in data analysis. He calculated, he said 70 years average age into 1,000 is 70,000 years. Oh my God, 70,000 years. I will be, coming back and back. Oh my God, that's not a good equation. And then he says, Swami, whatever you say. And then Bhagwan said, continue doing this, the job teaching that you're doing. Think it is a Swami's work. And dedicate all your teachings, all your efforts, and everything that it is Swami's mission, Bhagwan's mission. If you dedicate everything to God, everything is divinized. And that's an important part. We don't have to separate work from worship. Your work becomes worship if it is done with a remembrance of God, or with a remembrance that, oh Bhagwan, please guide me through this work that I've started today. And then if one always thinks of God, then one would unfailingly at the last moment remember him when we give up life. Okay, again, a very, very prominent assurance. We saw that. Now let's look at some of this. Let's look at the life of Alexander the Great. Very important, when after conquering many kingdoms, which is outside, conquering the world outside, conquering within is inside. And I remember Tenzing Norway, this guy, when he conquered the Mount Everest, that means he was the first one who did that. When he came down and media were asking him, so how was the conquest? How do you feel on top of the world? He said, I feel today, even I have reached the peak of the Everest, that I have not conquered anything within. I feel that emptiness and hollowness, despite why? Because it was something which I conquered outside, while my inside is still hollow. That was his statement. You look at his spiritual understanding, he reached that, and then he realized it is important to conquer within. And that's what Alexander here, he says, after he's conquered, he was almost going to die. And then he said that I will not be having too much of time, so please carry out my wishes. And what were his 3 wishes that he laid out? My first desire is that my physicians alone must carry my casket. My dead body and casket, all the doctors who have attended me must carry that. The second desire, he said, put on the road the jewelries and the gems, the wealth, as my casket goes on the road. And the third, he said, please hang my hands outside the casket. Please hang them. It was a difficult desire that he had, but the generals who were so loyal to him had to oblige because it was his command, and the end was there. And then they asked, okay, fine, you told me this. Now tell us why you want the doctors to carry the coffin. And look at this Alexander. He had not read the Bhagavad Gita then, but I'm sure he was connected to the eternal divine, which is a source for everyone. And he said that because the best of the doctors also cannot save you when the time comes. When the time comes, the best of the doctors doesn't save you. And time is defined, right? It's all return ticket. Only the date we don't know, which he knows in his master plan. So that was the answer why you want doctors to lead your procession. The second, why gems? He says that you leave the gems because I conquered everything. I had a whole world of wealth, right? But this is all which is remaining here. So let the people realize it is sheer waste of time to conquer, to get these worldly things, to get into gems and jewelry and all this, this stuff that you spend your life accumulating. They're not going to go with you. Nothing is going with you, right? Nothing. And then the last one, he gave a beautiful one when he asked why you are leaving your hands outside the coffin. He says that let the world see that the great Alexander who conquered the world is going empty-handed. He came empty-handed, he's going empty-handed. Possibly this will trigger and ignite some thoughts into the people that what is important in life. That was an important part of the teaching that Alexander gave as he was living. Now let's connect to the parlance in today's life. We had Swami's devotee, Tamil Nadu Trust convener, I think it was chairman, Mr. G.K. Raman, on a particular day of 2007, 27th August. He went for the morning darshan. He was not feeling easy. And then the devotees around him told me, sir, you can go and rest. And then, you can come back for the evening darshan. He said, no. I will have Swami's darshan at 8:30 a.m. today, and then I will go. So he told them, and can you believe the timing of the Lord when he appeared for the darshan was 8:30 a.m. Bhagavan came. He had a deep look. Mr. G.K. Raman, he had a look into Bhagwan, and then he fell down on his chest. He just kind of prostrated. He was on his knees. He fell down. So people were trying to remind, and then Bhagwan was there, and Bhagwan was giving a glaring look onto the entire things, looking at him, and he was looking at Swami. He looked at Swami, and the Swami told bhajans to start. That day he cancelled the discourse. He told bhajans to start, and then he got a glass of water, told his son to give him. And the bhajans running, looking at Swami, Mr. G.K. Raman, breathed his last. This is so beautiful. You connect back to the source again by the way you think at the moment, as Bhagavad Gita shows us, at the last moment, what you see, what you behave, what you think connects you to that particular source, right? Another very touching part of the episode I read was there was a Kea auntie, she was a Hindustani Carnatic music teacher in the Swami's college for the children, Ishwarama School, and all that she was teaching, right? And she was having a cancer. Suddenly in her 70s, she contracted lung cancer, but she refused to take any medication. She said, no, my Swami is there. I don't need to take any medication. And she, in fact, did not take any medication until what happened 24th April 2011, when Swami shed his mortal coil, when Swami left his physical form. After that, she got into a state of shock. The same cancer which she had thwarted for months and years now was trying to eat up. Look at the connect a soul with the super soul, how connected, how, looking at the form, you get so much of nutrients. It's like Shri Baba said, for a baby turtle and the mother turtle, it doesn't necessarily need to come near. Just by the glance and the look, the baby turtle gets what it wants. Just by the look of Sai, we get what we want. And this lady was doing that. Then when Swami left, then she started accepting to go to a doctor and see and start taking medications, right? The photo is a representation of that. And she started medication. Of course, things were not changing. Things were getting worse. So there was a nurse which was attached to her. Nurse name was Maria, and Maria was attending her, and she was in the Prashanti S3 quarters. Now, it happened one day that on 20th July, Maria, after a whole, doing her attendance, she was going back home. She had some feeling and came back. When she came back, she was seeing that, K auntie was getting a little suffocated or whatever. So there was a lot of pain. So Maria also started singing bhajan and doing Sai Shurai. And as she was doing, K auntie was murmuring Sai Shurai. There was a sight which baffled Maria. And suddenly she saw, now this is minded 2012 when Swami had left his form. She saw Swami standing there. Suddenly Swami appeared, and oh my goosebumps. And Swami is looking at K auntie. And she looked, and then she was with a closed eyes, with a smile. She took 2 puffs of breath, and brothers and sisters, she left. How important is such kind of an end where you go back to the source, come out a tangent to the circle of the life and death, and become completely realized and merged in him. Itna to karna Swami jab pran tan se nikle, Govind naam leke tab pran tan se nikle. This is an important part. These are real things which happened, which have repeated after what we heard about Bhishma and so many other stalwarts in the yesteryears or the generations earlier. And this is Bhagwan's devotees who have done that. Another great devotee I think I shared about 5, 6, 7 years back. I don't remember. There was this guy who was singing Gurbani in the New York, in the US, one of the Kirtans. His name was Ragi Singh. And apparently when he was singing, this was whole being videographed. Let's have a look into this. How soulfully somebody is engrossed in the divine. And I've heard him, I think he came in Singapore in 2011-12 when this Gurudwara in Serangoon was inaugurated.
समजस शब्द विचारे मोहन मोहे लिया मन मेरा मोहन मोहे लिया मन मेरा अपने ठाकुर की हो तेरी, ठाकुर की हो तेरी। ठाकुर की हो तेरी।
Srinagar Sridhar met his father, Ram. Take Balmika's class.
मन मुख हीन ओछी मत टूटी, मन तन में।
This is, it's the sharing is only to let us know that there are souls who are so engrossed in the divine who peacefully leave taking his name, who take his name peacefully. And this is where he was trying to revive. He had left. He had already left singing the Gurumani, singing the Guru, and merged in the Bhagwan. This is what Bhagavad Gita has told us, that when you remember me towards the end, at that moment, brothers and sisters, it's bound to happen that he comes himself to receive us. Let's also talk about another one of the spiritual stalwarts and a shining star, Professor Kasturi. And I have that book I was reading, and even earlier this was something which I think I shared a part of it. Like Shiva swallowing poison, holding his throat, shedding only coolness, Kasturi accepted every obstacle in the event of his life. Remember, his life was not straightforward, but the biggest thing that he had in life was closeness and sannidhi to Bhagavan, right? And his daughter says that, Padma says that nothing ever disturbed his equanimity. He never complained to Swami about his personal needs. When Swami, one word was Swami, and that was enough. So when his son, who was reputed geologist, retired and passed away because of an ailment, all that Kasturiji said was his station had come, so he got down. Mine has not come, mine is yet to come. Brothers and sisters, look at the wisdom, look at the spiritual maturity that Professor Kasturi exhibited. Truly Swami who gave him that courage and stoicism, right? And then she said one day when he returned home after a lecture to foreign devotees, I simply burst out. Now she is bursting out and telling him that, what is the use? You go and talk for hours on how Swami did to that person, this person. Do you know what's happening at home? My personal life is a turmoil. Our elder son died. Okay. And your wife is sick. That means Mrs. Kasturi is sick, bedridden for 11 years. And so Kasturiji listened to all. He said, it's okay for you to talk in that, but I don't want Swami to do anything for me. Whatever he does is perfect. He's God. I have faith in him. Whomever he does it to, I consider him as my own. Now remember, look at the expansion of his heart. If he's saying that if he's blessing Brother Shastri, he's blessing Brother Anand or Brother Bindu, it is all same mine because we are all connected. That was his expanded heart. He said, why should I go and asking? From your point of view, he says what you are saying is appreciable, but I do not have the feeling to go and ask. And this is why when the devotees exist and breathe in this kind of a nature and character, that Bhagavan does this what he did to him. It was in the Guru Purnima day of 1987, Swami was delivering the divine discourse in Purnachand auditorium. And I was keen to hear him on that day. That sister, his daughter Padma says, and my son Ramesh was also there, taking care of Professor Kasturi. She came out of the room and sat on the steps near the south block to hear Swami's speeches. But during this time, it seems Kasturiji called Ramesh and said, you look at the statement Kasturiji is saying, Kasturi is dead. I am Atma. So look at the conscious Jivan Mukti state where his body, his attachment, his ego, all that is shed aside. And he says, I am Atma. Don't force me food or anything. I replied, no, I won't force you. But until the body is there, we have to take care of the body. So please cooperate. I won't coax you, Padma says, but please, if you want anything, just let me know. On 14th August, 87, 11:30 hours, Swami went to the bedside of his dear devotee, into his ear and gently said, Kasturi, Kasturi. Immediately, Kasturiji opened his eyes. He wanted to offer salutations, brothers and sisters, even in that state. Swami caught hold of his hands and with much love created Vibhuti. It's my responsibility, Kasturi, to take care of you. It's over. Now look at the rational mind. If somebody listens to my responsibility and the game is over, how somebody thinks. But look at this, learning the cycle, how it goes, learning that I must make sure my dear devotee who has remembered me does not come back again into this world of koam. He says the game is over. It's over. Now it's my responsibility. And then he went on. He went down and told the doctors there is 1 hour more. Now he's predicting, he's telling he has got 1 hour more. You go and repeat Sai Ram, Sai Ram. At 12:30, Professor Kasturi breathed his last. And in the book, it is written in the book. I won't hesitate, brothers and sisters, just 2 lines to say. Swami came and stood in front of Kasturi Garu. And then he said, Kasturi, see who has come. You go on looking at me. Don't think of anything else. Keep looking at me. Think of me. That was Swami physically delivering this Bhagavad Gita assurance. Keep looking at me. And he took him with him. Brothers and sisters, ant ho to aisa ho. If we have to live in this way. Such a marvelous example he has set of complete surrender throughout the life. Then living with Swami. This is called art of living and art of living, both combined in this one great super soul called Professor Kasturi. We got to take a leaf from his word. Again, it is depending which side we want to be. If we want to be on the side of Bhagwan, then of course we have to make conscious choice, rerouting, recalibration of our lives, brothers and sisters. And that is what matters, because we are born not to be born again. Remember that. We should die so that we don't come back again. And now how does it happen? How does it help? When you look at one of the 9 forms of devotion, Smaranam. Because when we are lying at that stage, if suppose we are hit with a bullet, you know, like in the borders when our army men, those who martyrs, they die, they're hit with a bullet. It's difficult for you to move or do anything. The only thing you can do is think, which is called Smaranam. And when you break the word Smaranam, it is Maranam. That is, it has derived from the word, so that when you are in that state of helplessness, even in life or at the time of that hour, only thing which helps you is Smaranam, Smaranam, Smaranam. And that is why it is one of the 9 forms of devotion where Nama Smarana comes to the forefront, plays its important part. And all these great stalwarts that we just heard about, Professor Kasturi, or we had Prahalada, we had Dhruva, you name it. We had Swami Yogananda who left consciously remembering the Lord. All these masters have told Smaranam, Smaranam must be done at that point of time. And we cannot fool Bhagwan. There was a guy who was a businessman. He thought that, okay, I have run the Bhagavad Gita. It says that when you remember me, you reach me. So he said, how do I remember? Because it's a worldly life. He named his 4 sons, Panduranga, Vithala, Krishna, Rama. So when the end came, when he was deeply serious on the hospital bed, he says, oh, Panduranga. Then his wife says, oh, Panduranga is standing here. Oh, Vithala, Vithala is standing here, my husband. And then he says, oh, Rama, Rama is standing here. And then he says, oh, Krishna, the Krishna is also, all the 4 sons were standing. Then he said, being a businessman, being, you know, not practiced throughout his life, he says that if all of you are standing here, then who is that the provision store that I have? Who's going to take care of the business if all are standing here? So even at the time when the end came, he was thinking about the provision store, his business, not about God. Brothers and sisters, this is not a one-time thing. You can make a choice like a KBC option, Crorepati. You select an option, it is going to work. No, it has to be lived. Right? And how can we forget that very assurance from Bhagwan? Yoga Kshemam Vahamyaham. Whoever among devotees dedicates all acts to me with no other thought, whatever meditates me, serves me, worships me, remembers me, know that I'm always with him, ever providing for him this world and the next. Remember that word, this world and the next. Extremely important. I bear the burden of his yoga kshema. Do you hear me, Arjuna? That is an assurance, brothers and sisters. So Smaranam, that is why Nama Smaranam is extremely important, because when you engrave this in your subconscious being of Nama Smarana, it gets rooted there automatically, despite all the hardships. There is high likelihood of us to remember Bhagavan. That is why Smaranam is important. All right. And we all know, we have seen this, the mind is the reservoir. You know, the chitta, the memory part of the mind, it carries burst to burst all the thoughts. And that is what it says if your thought carried at the last moment is something which is attached to a particular being or stuff, then you come back again and again. But if your thought is attached, when you have that asakti towards God, when you have that attachment to God, sannidhi to God, when you remember him, then Bhagwan says that is why man must understand everything he has done is reaction, reverberation, reflection. He writes his own destiny. Have a good life with good thoughts and good actions. Only through such a life can he realize the divinity. It's important what we think, not at the last hour, but on a daily basis, brothers and sisters, right? Pranapana samaya kafa vata pitehi kunta avarodhana viroha. Smaranam kautaste. What it means when the life is about to leave, brothers and sisters, it is a painful physical part, right? The throats get dried up, it starts choking. All these things starts happening. There's so much of pain. Is it possible to actually remember? Just think about a cut you get in the hand, or you fall down, you have some pain. Do we actually say Sai Ram at that point of time? Think about it. Think about it. That's why the word watch your thoughts, watch your word, watch your action is so important, because if we develop this intrinsic tendency to remember him, possibly we will. But otherwise, the physical harshness of the incident during the time of departure is very overwhelming. So something has to be greater than that to remember, right? What he thinks at the time of death, he attains and becomes in the next birth, but the last thought cannot be chosen absolutely at that moment. Listen to this small 4-minute audio clip and you'll understand the whole thing that I have put up.
Whatever he thinks at the time of death,
this is by one of the masters of Chinmay Mission.
But Bhagavan, what decides the last thought? Whatever he thinks at the time of death, he attains that alone. But Bhagavan, what decides the last thought? So here one term is used, Sada Tad Bhava Bhavitaha. Last thought of a person cannot be chosen. There is absolutely no choice. Why? The last thought depends on what kind of thoughts he had been entertaining throughout his life. Sada tad bhava bhavitaha. Bhavitaha means engrossed. Engrossed in what? Tad bhava, in that thought. Because he is engrossed in that thought, at the last moment, he will have no choice. What thought will come? That thought which he has been entertaining for so many years, that particular thought bundle, that particular thought which has formed a samskara in him, which has formed vasana in him, that particular vasana, that particular thought momentum, that will decide the last moment thought. It cannot be chosen. That's why in Mukundamala it is said, Prana Prayana Samaye Kafa Vata Pittaihi Kantha Avarodhana Vidho Smaranam Kutaste. Bhagavan, how is it possible to remember you? When a person is dying, what happens? Prana Prayana Samaye, when that prana is leaving the body, Kapha Vata Pittaihi, because of Kapha Vata and Pitta. Kapha means phlegm, Vata means wind, Pitta means bile. Kapha Vata Pittaihi. Kantha Avarodhana Vidho, when the throat gets choked because of Vata Pitta Kapha. At that time, Bhagavan, how is it possible to remember you? There is so much of discomfort, there is so much of pain, there is so much of suffering at that moment of time. At that moment, it is impossible to think of you. So therefore, if we have to think of him and die, what should we do? Now there is a wonderful law. We will discuss more about this law. What does this law say? No doubt, you go in that direction depending upon what your last thoughts are. But those last thoughts are determined by the momentum of thought which you have given when you are alive throughout your life. Day after day, year after year, what kind of thought you constantly entertain, that thought would have gained a tremendous momentum. It is this thought momentum which will decide the last moment thought. We have no choice. We have no choice means what? We have no choice at the time of death. You cannot say last moment I will chant Narayana and get liberated. Impossible. Impossible. The whole life should be geared for this. It is.
Sorry. Anyway, so the point it's again reassuring and hammering what we have been speaking about, very beautifully putting up that the physical hardness and harshness at that point of time of leaving does not permit us to think anything else except the anguish that we are going through, right? So it's very important to tutor, and that we come back to this circle diagram, you know, with sow a thought, reap an action, sow an action, reap a habit, sow a habit, reap a tendency, sow a tendency, reap a character, sow a character, reap a destiny. So what we become next is decided by the thoughts that we are doing it. And also we must connect, you know, Bhagwan has said, as is food, so is head. That means what kind of food we are taking, that's a different chapter in altogether. What Paka Shuddhi, that means how the cooking has been, and Padartha Shuddhi, what ingredients, Paka Shuddhi, Padartha Shuddhi, and Patra Shuddhi, on which it has been placed, and the one who is eating it, the one who is cooking it, so important that it regulates our thoughts. So again, thoughts are important, what we get in the last moment, how we condition that, how we train our mind to get the right thoughts at the right moment. It's important for us to understand. It's just like, you know, you have a sprinter who is running, Usain Bolt, let's say in this photograph, he comes to the finishing line first. But do you think that when he's losing, he has decided to come to the finishing line first? Just he can come. There has been a lot of practice that he has done throughout his training career and mental affirmations and stuff that he has groomed into his mind and his being, that I have to become fast, I have to run like this in the last 10 meters, I have to do this sprint. All these things he has been conditioning. So you heard about the momentum of thoughts, the sumptum sanctorum of the thoughts, the whole substance of the thoughts, that we must merge in divine. We must be divine. Oh God, please come and receive me when the time comes. All these factors will help us to reach the finishing line first. Brothers and sisters, it's an important part of the journey that if we don't start early, we possibly will have to come back to start again, right? So let's be conscious about this fact. It's a beautiful way how it was explained that a runner cannot become first unless he has practiced all that. And then suppose he's in the race, he knows that now 10, 15 meters are remaining, he can, notch up his gear and run faster. That is compared to the time when he's lying on the bed of arrows, or when you are in anguish, almost about to leave, you can notch up. Why? Because you have conditioned your mind, you have trained your mind, you have trained your being to think only about God, divinize your work as God. And that is what will help us in the moment when we are leaving. So let's finish this session with this particular video, which is very pertinent to the topic, before we call it a day on this.
इतना तो करना स्वामी, सावरा निकट हो, मेरा सावरा निकट हो, जब प्राण तन से निकले, इतना तो करना स्वामी, जब प्राण तन से निकले। श्री वृंदावन का स्थल हो, मेरे मुख में तुलसी दल हो। श्री वृंदावन का स्थल हो, मेरे मुख में तुलसी दल हो। श्री वृंदावन का स्थल हो, मेरे मुख में तुलसी दल हो। विष्णु चरण का जल हो, विष्णु चरण का जल हो, जब प्राण तन से निकले, इतना तो करना स्वामी, जब प्राण तन से निकले। जब कंठ प्राण आवे, कोई रोग ना सतावे। जब कंठ प्राण आवे, कोई रोग ना सतावे। यम दर्श ना दिखावे, यम दर्श ना दिखावे। जब प्राण तन से निकले, इतना तो करना स्वामी, जब प्राण तन से निकले। सुधि होवे नाही तन की, तैयारी हो गमन की। सुधि होवे नाही तन की, तैयारी हो गमन की। सुधि होवे नाही तन की, तैयारी हो गमन की। लकड़ी हो ब्रज के वन की, लकड़ी हो ब्रज के वन की। जब प्राण तन से निकले, इतना तो करना स्वामी, जब प्राण तन से निकले। कुछ आपका फर्ज है, कुछ आपका फर्ज है। जब प्राण तन से निकले इतना तो करना स्वामी, जब प्राण तन से निकले इतना तो करना स्वामी, जब प्राण तन से निकले गोविंद नाम लेकर, गोविंद नाम लेकर फिर प्राण तन से निकले इतना तो करना स्वामी, जब प्राण तन से निकले।
Om Sai Ram, brothers and sisters. That was it. Very absorbing. We had to carry this. Quite overwhelming. So that was one journey we undertook, I think in continuation almost 2-3 months, my will, his will, karma, destiny, and then how we close the account. Finally, at least we have some understanding on how Bhagavan wants us to remember him into everything. And let's be mindful of this, that not only being born in auspicious time or being born is important, departing is also extremely important. With that, I think Brother Shastri, it's over to you for sharing whatever you have today. I think every sharing is his rasa, so we'll enjoy whatever you have.
Sai Ram, brothers and sisters, I think Swami's 108 name for today. Om Sri Sai Chitravati Tat Puttaparthi Viharine Namaha. I think all of us know that yes, Swami has selected the place and Swami had selected the mother, and all of us know the story behind it. How one of the Pandits, when asked, Swami, is it Prashavam or Pravesam? So Swami, the mother Ishwaramma has confirmed that it was Pravesha and not Prasava. So the divine avatar always selects the place and chooses the mother. And secondly, we all know that Swami had spent entire his life just the vow that he had given to his mother, he would never leave Puttaparthi. So I think in Swami's discourse as well, in the first clipping that we heard, it is very, very clear that the avatar selects his own timings. So, and also Chitravati as such, the beautiful stories that we have heard, Swami played like any kid and he had produced so many food items. Like, you know, you think of it, you know, the Mysore Pak cake or the jalebis or the Medu Vadas with no grain of sand in those items, but producing it from the sand bed of Chitravati. And so we know all those miracles, all those, you know, incidents that Swami had done to instill faith in those lucky devotees and those early days. So until the last second, last minute, I think he had given everything of his life for that place. So it's the divine place that I think we can cherish, and whenever we are there, and physically also, I think my personal experience, brothers and sisters, let me tell you, you can just examine yourself. You just stay for 2-3 days, you take the bath there. I'm not saying in Chitravati river, but even ashram or anywhere on Puttaparthi ground, the soil, outside hotel, whatever, wherever you may stay, the skin color changes. You can observe it and feel it and experience it. That has been my experience. Wherever I was in the world, whenever I visited Parthi and stayed 2-3 days, you would definitely feel that. So the divine vibrations and the energy that he has instilled, of course, he is universal, he is everywhere. And I think that's as today's talk has been to realize him at the end. I mean, personally, I also feel all the, you know, satsangs that we participate, every minute that we spend in this sojourn, in this body, would ought to add up to that end moment. I think last week or the previous session, I did mention the incident that I experienced through that, on 23rd December 2000, unforgettable day in my life. It was Swami who had given me another life when the thugs right in the middle of Tomboy Street in Nairobi, had caught me by neck, by throat, and I was like, that was blank, pitch dark blank. That was the moment, that just for a second. But the moment I opened my eyes, I see Swami's picture there, which was on the file, which I was holding. So that moment, when it comes, how it comes, and Swami says he is not an ordinary photographer. He doesn't give any, say, 1, 2, 3, or steady, ready, go. But he just takes it off. So therefore, for us always to be steady and to be ready is what is this life for. Sairam.
Beautiful, brother. Yeah. I think, Brother Anand, you put up on the screen that your grandfather or somebody was witness to the Sai Krishna idol from the sand.
No, my father-in-law.
Okay.
My father-in-law basically narrated to me 21 years back that on the banks of Chitravati, when he was a child, along with Swami, Swami one day playfully materialized Lord Krishna, and that was the time when it was actually quite childlike. Everyone was very surprised. Yeah. So you see, the thing is, Swami has this beautiful way of showing that he can do miracles, but he doesn't tell that he's God. His work basically tells it. Today you have touched upon death, a topic on death. Actually, I want to share something. Can I speak for 2 minutes?
Sure, brother, please.
On 5th of February, 4th of February 2020, I was in Hyderabad, and there was a marriage that I had attended along with my parents. My father was 85 and my mother 80. My mother is with me now. So when in Hyderabad, the marriage was conducted in a very grand manner. It was one of my relatives' marriage. My father wanted to join us, and so we took him, and it was a very beautiful remembrance on 4th of February. And during that time, I fed my father because my father couldn't walk, so I fed him twice, and I remember that as a beautiful incident. On 5th of February, I boarded the flight to Singapore, and on 13th of February, I got a call from my mother that father passed away in about just 30 minutes. Today, when you spoke about death, I wanted to just share that death is real, life is unreal. My father and my mother both were watching TV serial on the 12th night, and after everything was done, they went for sleep, and my father woke up at around 2:05, and by 2:45 he left his body. In that 40 minutes, it was one of the most peaceful deaths that he had. In those 40 minutes, he did not disturb his wife, who was just next to him. And during that time, I was actually listening to bhajans in Singapore, and I didn't know that my father would be passing away. For some reason, strange reason, I was listening to bhajans in Singapore, and I was awake, very much awake. For some reason, I was not able to sleep, and I was very much awake. I didn't know what was happening, but then later in the morning, around 6 or so, I got a call from my mother saying that father had collapsed. And I asked my mother what time he collapsed, and he told the time, and that was the time when I was actually listening to Sai bhajans. So I felt very bad. I felt bad that I wish I was there with him in Hyderabad when he passed away. I was just there about 1 week back. So I rushed to Hyderabad to perform all the rites, the final rites. And I asked myself, I was asking myself, how come my father didn't call me? That was a thought that was in my mind. So it was haunting me. And then I told my mother, Amma, give me the phone of father. I want to check his phone calls. And there, when I saw the phone, there I saw at 2:15, at 2:25, he tried reaching me. And I got goosebumps. I got goosebumps at that point of time. because at 2:25 and just before he passed away, he tried reaching me. It was unfortunate the call didn't go through. I was awake. I was awake. I was listening to bhajans, and then when he couldn't get through, I guess he just kept the phone aside, and he passed away in a very yogi manner, in the most. See, why I'm sharing this is because my father would say that I want to die in a manner so that I don't become a burden to any of my children or to anybody close to me. And exactly in the same way, he passed away without being a burden to anyone. Smilingly, he passed away. Today, as I remember my father, so as a Hindu, we have to put Masikam every month. 12 months after his passing away, you put Masikam. So I would do Masikam in the Shiva temple because he was a staunch devotee of Lord Shiva. At Rudra Kaliman temple in Singapore, I used to perform the Masikams for my father. After the 12 months were over, in February 2021, exactly when 12 months were over, me and my mother and my wife, we were all seated in the living room and in our house. Out of nowhere, for the first time, we saw a bird come all the way from the kitchen, all the way from the kitchen balcony. It came all the way to the living hall. To the living hall, it went straight to the photograph, which is my father's photograph with the garland and the 12 vibhutis that we had put there from the 12 masikams. So it touched all the 12 vibhutis, it shook the garland, and then it flew away. So it was unbelievable sight. It was an unbelievable sight. My mother, my wife, and I, we were shocked. We didn't know what was happening because I had never seen a bird in my house because it's a closed place. You know, from where does the bird came? How did the bird know that the father's photograph was there right in the living hall? And how did the bird of all the places didn't go anywhere but just went to the father's photograph, touched the garland, touched all the 12 vibhuti packets, and then left away. So that was a blessing, I thought. So Swami basically has his own leelas, and he has his own way of basically saying that I'm there. And my father was a staunch devotee of Swami, and we had great darshan of Swami together. So those memories remain with me. Sai Ram.
Beautiful. And brother, the very fact that you connected today after some gap is on a day when we are discussing a topic which I'm not aware that what has happened in your end. But you see how connected the topic was, number one. And number two is the bird. It just comes to my mind. Bird basically is signifying, liberation from the cage. So it is like flying off. That means, it's my limited understanding, but I think he was such a blessed soul that Swami possibly has no return for him back. So he has just merged in Bhagwan.
He passed away on the day, early morning, 3 o'clock, Panchami Tithi. And the beautiful thing about his passing away is that he passed away exactly on the same day of his Janma Nakshatra. So when a person passes away, we try to find out if there are any deficiencies and we need to do puja as an elder son. The Pandit says there is no deficiency at all, not a single 1% deficiency. Everything is absolutely correct. So you don't have to do any puja. Even the pujas we perform were in a beautiful manner, done extremely well. Brother, last 3 weeks was very difficult time for me. In fact, 4 weeks, 4 to 5 weeks was a very difficult time for me. I could not attend the satsang because my wife, Lalita, was diagnosed with a tumor. Intramuscular tumor. She is very young, 44 years, and she was diagnosed with an intramuscular tumor. The tumor was atypical tumor. We went, first of all, obviously, when the tumor came, it was shocking. It just knocked me out completely. And we went to all the major surgeons in Singapore, and they all said it is cancer. It is very difficult. In fact, one surgeon also commented saying that he had never seen anything like this in his life.
Oh.
So I didn't know what to do. My wife was depressed. I was depressed. All I could do is that I told my wife, look, I have this, whenever I would go to Puttaparthi, I would get VVIP darshan. So in one of the VVIP darshans, I actually got Vibhuti packet right from materialized by Swami. And that Vibhuti packet materialized by Swami, actually, I said, look, I don't know what's going to happen, Lalita, but why don't you apply this on your tumor and let's see what happens. So she would do that regularly. So we got a date for the surgery for the tumor to be removed, and the tumor was removed successfully. She was operated at NUH, and the tumor was removed successfully. And after 12 days, and during that whole time, Swami's picture was there, Swami's Vibhuti was there. We were applying Vibhuti to her, to the tumor. And after 12 days to 14 days, the doctor said, look, we're going to have to do a biopsy, and we have to tell you what kind of cancer this is. So after 12 to 14 days, they did a biopsy, and they also did a genetic study, because I insisted that they should do a genetic study. And they did a genetic study on the tumor, and lo and behold, we were surprised. The doctor said, the surgeon said, we don't know what has happened, but the tumor is non-cancerous. So we were shocked, because 5 out of 5 surgeons, 4 surgeons told us it is cancer, and only 1 surgeon said it is not non-cancer. And after 12 days or 14 days of the surgery is over, just because we were listening to Swami's bhajans and applying Vibhuti, the biopsy result comes non-cancer. So then I asked the surgeon, are you sure it's non-cancer? Did you check the result? Because my wife was also very shocked. She said, are you sure you done the correct test? Is the result of the correct patient? Then the doctor was very surprised. The doctor said, why do you basically look for bad news when I'm telling you the good news? She was asking, do I need to go through chemotherapy or radiotherapy? The surgeon was again shocked. He said, no, just go and celebrate. You have no cancer. So after that, we went to the temple. We prayed and we said thank you, and then we came back. So that's the reason why I could not attend some of the satsang sessions. I'm so sorry, but it was Swami is there. Swami is there. It's up to us to see him. So what happened in those 6 weeks is basically I asked myself, when there is difficulty that is imposed on you, because you see, suddenly when there is difficulty, when someone tells you that your most beloved person has got cancer, it's a shock, right? It's a big shock, and it's a reality. So what do you do as a devotee? My only experience has been is that when the going gets tough, a devotee basically also has to increase the dosage of Sai love, the dosage of Sai meditation, and the Sai medicine. So the Sai medicine eventually works. I just did that. I just increased the dosage, and eventually the result is positive. So it has been a miracle after a miracle actually in my life. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks, brother. I think the important thing you summed up was, as the challenges grow up, your spiritual endeavors should grow up. Namasmarana, meditation, whatever endeavors, selfless service, seva, anything. Great, brother. Thanks for being here, and thanks for sharing. I think this is loaded session with so many Swami's grace reflecting all over, pouring out. Okay, we'll conclude with Samasta Loka. Om Samasta Loka Sukhino Bhavantu. Samasta Loka Sukhino Bhavantu. Samasta Loka Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. जय बोलिए भगवान श्री सत्य साई बाबा जी की जय. Sai Ram, brothers and sisters, once again wishing you a great blessed week and days ahead till we catch up again 2 weeks later. Om Sai Ram, and Sai Ram, brother, pranams to auntie also who is sitting there. Pranams to everyone. Sai Ram. Sai Ram.
Sai Ram, brother.
Sai Ram.